Welcome back to the Travel People Podcast. It's your boy JV here. Episode 2, Season 2, kicking off at Lake Wylie Brewing Company in Newport, South Carolina. We have some exciting guests today. Of course, Jeff Coogler will be talking about the brewing process, the beers, and the inspiration behind the dream that they call Lake Wylie Brewing. And then we also have an interesting character, a good friend of mine, some might say a best friend, Ernesto Hernandez, and of course Dominic Lewinsky, the Polish rapper, the Polish real estate man himself, you know, hip-hop real estate man,
appreciate you,
guru of the stars, all that good stuff.
Just a mogul,
But we've got a tremendous show for you today, so sit back, relax, and let's go.
Hey.
So we're here with Ernesto. Ernesto, welcome to the show. Introduce yourself, please.
Oh, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me, man. Ernesto Hernandez, born in Mexico, raised in the South.
Who's Ernesto Hernandez?
I was hoping you would introduce me and be like, hey, the real name's Shady. Please stand up. I was waiting for that, man.
There you go. We're going to do the B-rolls here.
Yeah,
we're going to show you.
The B-roll.
One of those guys going to stand up. I'm like, sit down. Let's just here.
Slide it in the back. I'll stand up and I can see it back down.
Exactly.
Just like that.
Put your hands up.
Yeah.
All right, talk to us. We know you're an outstanding personality, kind-hearted, above and beyond. But tell us from the deep of your heart who you are.
No, man, I'm a dad. I've got 4 kids who I love. First and foremost, that's my passion. That's my love. Having my kids. 1 girl, 3 boys. Obviously, she's a princess. She rules the world, right?
Gotcha.
Whatever she says goes, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, that's how you work.
That's first and foremost, that's my first passion. Is having kids. Ever since I was a little boy, I always knew I was going to be a dad.
Okay.
So the first time that I had my son Landon, I knew I was going to be the best dad I could be, right? And from then on, everything I've done since has been for my family.
So where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in a small town called Greenwood, South Carolina.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's about 3.5 hours south of here.
But you were born in Mexico.
Born in Mexico.
So how did that transition happen? Mexico to the Carolinas?
Yeah,
South.
So born in Mexico, then more like southwestern Mexico. A lot of seafood, a lot of good beaches. But my mother immigrated to the country when I was 7. Brought me along with her. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
She needed someone to work, so I came over.
Our mothers.
She needed some help.
See.
Yeah, so my parents immigrated to the country from Mexico, and then we landed in Greenwood, South Carolina. Out of all the places, one of the most rural places in the South. Small town. I believe it was post-military war. They had a bunch of homes that look all the same, like back in the 60s. So steel town. I was, when I grew up in the 90s there was nothing of the sort. All the houses were the same.
Gotcha.
There was no more jobs. The industry had gone. But nonetheless, that's where I grew up. To the age of 13, 14, and then we moved to out of all the places, Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Wow.
That's where I graduated high school from.
You ever had did you ever have inspiration to join the military or do any of that? Being so close to a base and, pretty much everybody who lives there.
No, man, I never had the chance. From the age of 7 or 8, my goal has always been to what can I do for people around me. How can I serve my parents, my siblings? I'm the oldest of 4, so it's always how can I give back to the people that need me immediately.
I love that because I've always seen that about you, that you've been someone who has always been a giver. You have been an affirmer, someone who grants affirmation all the time. So that's something unique about you. But more importantly, tell us about Ernesto, the entrepreneur. Tell us a little bit about how that started in your life. Before you tell us about your business, but tell us what were the inspirations behind, hey, I'm going to do this, ...
Yeah, so
and not just one thing, this and that and that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you got an entrepreneurial mind, but you exploring different venues, and this is I'm so impressed by you, from the gastronomy to the, clothing, merch, I'm like, wow, this guy's all over. So just talk to us about this.
Yeah, no, like I said, for me, it's always been about making the people around me better. And so, at the age of 22, I was told I was going to be a dad. And at the time, I could barely make ends meet. But I was like, what can I do in my life to ensure that one, I can sustain my family, and two, set an example for my future generation, which is my kids. And so I had to grind and go to work, right? Started as a kitchen person in the back of a kitchen in a restaurant. I grinded, became a general manager a year later. And then from there, I was like, it opened up my mind. I say, if I can work this hard in a company and get ahead, then why don't I want to continue to do that long term, right? So I continue
ambition
to
just
so
go
I've always been, so I continue to do that.
Absolutely.
I got to my next role as a district manager with a different company.
So along the way, you had people who either inspired you or companies and trades that really brought something to life. I know for me as a travel advisor, working in sports and entertainment for as long as I did, I met so many different individuals that really inspired me to kick it to the next level. To maybe become my own individual and become my own entrepreneur. And I know, Dom, you have something similar to that where, you said, well, you know what? Real estate is really something that I really want to do. But what makes Ernesto the chef, the clothing line expert, because you're a designer as well, the artist, you're a great photographer from what I hear. I mean, you've got this plethora. I'm going to call them 15 fathoms, right? And you guys are going to learn about 15 fathoms in a little bit, but I'm going to call it 15 fathoms of entrepreneurship. You have so much to give. And it's so interesting because you came from a rural area in Mexico, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I like to tell my clients is when they're traveling to Mexico, there's more than just Cancun. You would agree, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're traveling to another country, you want to learn about the culture. In that region, what specific would a client like mine would want to learn about your region?
So we're on the coast, on the Pacific side, and there's a lot of seafood, man. Good seafood.
Only imagine.
Deep fried.
But there's a seafood specific.
Yeah, so we have two different things that we do. We have this thing called a mojarra, which is like a Mexican, kind of like a tilapia.
Okay.
Right? But it's fried whole with eyeballs and head and everything, right?
Oh, I'm so hungry.
The whole thing, right? With
I'm hungry already.
Yeah, sauce on the
I'm
side,
hungry.
pico de gallo on the side, Then you have our traditional shrimps done many ways. So we don't do a lot of fried seafood, but just steamed shrimp in a big platter with lots of cucumbers and tomatoes and hot sauces and a nice cold beer, sitting on next to a palm tree on the beach.
You once shared with me a dish
Can't beat that.
that I was too ignorant to know, and being from Jersey, but living once upon a time in Southern California, I should have known better. Cactus.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Oh man, that's like the cheapest, freest plants for you can have. I mean, he grows anywhere, right?
Yep.
I mean, the U.S. has them. Mexico, they're everywhere.
I'm hooked.
Literally, they're free. You pick them off, take off the thorns.
So you can eat it just as is.
Well, I would take off the thorns. Otherwise, you're gonna be.
You might be a little bit challenging,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So my wife might say I'm already thorny anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you take off the thorns and you can either boil it, bake it, saute it. Like the way we had it was scrambled eggs with cactus, salt and pepper.
scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
Wow. See, that's why I tell clients all the time, I say, there's so much more than you can learn from spending $5,000 dropping it at an all-inclusive resort.
And eat
You
the
can-
same food, like pizza, pasta, pizza.
And it's all Americanized, right? You go,
Exactly.
they're fantastic resorts. Don't get me
course.
wrong. I have some great partner suppliers, but there's a lot more because we get misinformed about don't go here, don't go there, be scared. But the world is open to be explored. But with being explored, you being an explorer of entrepreneurship, how did you get to becoming and I'm going to use this word, ladies and gentlemen. He does not like me to use this word. But how do you get to the chef level that you're at?
Yeah, I'm definitely not a chef.
See,
But,
like I said, he does not like, he is too humble to be called a chef, but, maybe by trade he hasn't had the accolades. But I'm here to tell everyone that Chef Ernesto Hernandez
Yeah, listen.
is
You got a
legit.
Wu-Tang Clan, you got a Weekend chef, you're there next
Right,
to the chef.
right.
That's it, mic drop. Talk to us.
So talk to us about that, man.
Well, for me, like I said, since I was a young kid, it's always been about how do I make the people around me better, right? And through those things that I'm doing, have done, continue to do, anything I do with this food, with this clothing, whether it's music, whether it's my family, any business venture that I get into, it's always how can I help somebody else be the best version of themselves.
But you baked this bread the other day that we had about 1 million sandwiches off of it. We tried to cut the bread so thin so that we could have more of it, but it was just impossible. You wanted to have more.
Yeah.
And for me, for my culture, for Puerto Ricans, we like to have our café con leche
Yeah.
in the morning.
Dip it in
and
there.
we dunk it in there with a little bit of butter. The butter seaming on top of the coffee. It sounds disgusting, but I got to tell you, when you drink some Bustelo like we do, and I said that like Dom would say, Bustelo, like sorry Dom, I gotta call you out on
Listen,
that, bro.
I got it.
Do you guys have that?
You give it a pass, you know.
You have that in Poland? Do you guys have coffee and bread thing? You don't have a
really.
coffee? No?
Not
Okay.
really.
Is it a tea culture in Poland?
To be honest with you, I would say was because like you talk about Europe and Eastern, a little bit Eastern part. However, we are in the middle of the Europe. The tea culture is like elevated.
That's what I thought.
But I would say now half and half, you know.
Yeah.
But
So you have like the Unkins and the Bucks,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, but we like little coffee, 50 milligrams of the vodka, and
See, now we're talking.
we can manage, you know. We can manage
Now we're
the day,
talking.
you know.
But what was, you've made, since I've known you, you've made some of the most eclectic food that I've had tasted. You've owned restaurants, you've been part of many ventures, and just for legal reasons, we won't mention some of those ventures, but you've been part of some amazing cultural food here in York County. Tell us a little bit about the inspiration, and tell us a little bit about some of the food. Like for me, one of my favorite was so simple, Monte Cristo, but you had a twist to it.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, so when we opened up that specific restaurant in Rock Hill, it's a breakfast brunch concept. And the idea behind the menu was literally food that I enjoyed, whether I've had it before, whether someone made it for me, whether I saw it somewhere and I just loved it. And then I just took it, played with it, and made it my own.
Yeah.
Then I created a book of just recipes things that I would eat, right?
Yeah.
Then I was like, well, can this be a model replicated?
Yeah.
Sure it can, right?
course.
People love food.
Creativity.
I love people. Brought them together. And then, we made magic happen.
Recipe for success.
Yeah, we did.
I
We made
love it.
magic happen. Food was great. In my opinion, it was a really good concept that we had. So that's kind of that came about when it came to that specific location. But everything else that I've done, since then or before that with restaurants, has always been taking whatever food I was being taught or I was adding myself to. And just elevate it, But at the end of the day, it goes back to people. So at the end of the day, with any product, whether it's beer, whether it's food, whether it's selling a plane or a pen, it's about the people. It starts with us. It starts with people. You get people in your side. You get that referral. You guys know about referrals.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
We
So-
love referrals.
we love it.
He loves referrals. I love
Yeah.
referrals.
You don't have
Word
to
of
pay.
mouth.
Just give
Let's
us a
go.
referral. Yeah.
Hey, as a matter of fact, I'm going to plug it in at 803-280-4727.
Yeah.
Cruise Planners, your boy JV here with the Travel People Podcast. You got to give us a call. We're legit. Hey, we do everything. Don't get confused by the name. We do it all. And by saying we do it all, you do it all. You do it all because what's this that we have right on? I have the hat. You have the hat. You have the shirt. I mean, I know.
You have to hook me up with some merchandise.
Oh, we got to hook them up.
Yeah.
We got to hook them up. Dom, I feel bad now. We
Listen,
love Dom.
I came with the loyal. I'm loyal to you guys, but be loyal.
Dom
to me
is
a little bit.
legendary. See, Dom is elevated. Like, Dom needs like a select clothing line for you.
Yeah, I just need a signature line.
Yeah.
Like
let's go
the
represent
legendary
Europe, but
line.
Just Offspring, with
I'll tell you
mine.
what, we'll send this clip to Jay-Z. I hear that he has, a really good clothing line. And I'm just saying,
Rockaway.
he hears, some rap music, some real
Let's
estate.
go. Listen, sky's the limit.
He owns a ton of real estate, too.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, Jay, hit me up.
There you go.
Hook 'em
And
up.
Full disclosure, back in the days, in the beginning of my career in the Emirates Airlines, I had a pleasure, honor to eat the lunch with Jay-Z and Beyonce and Blue Ivy.
There you go.
Why? Because the Blue Ivy was really stressed before her first flight, and she was like asking the J and B, like, Daddy, can he sit with us? You know, he's so fun. You know, he has some funny accent. So they asked me politely, hey, Dominic, you know, could you just chill with us because she's stressing before her first flight to Thailand.
See?
I know it, that. And I was able to eat and hang out, you know, with the Jay-Z and Beyonce. We built the Fort Knox with the pillows. We fight, you know, wrestle. It was
You
awesome.
should put it on your resume, like clown for the day.
Listen, I'm humble.
Look.
But I got the stories to tell.
What is it called? IMBD or INDD, DB,
MDB.
whatever it's called. Whatever it's called. I'm sorry. I don't follow any of that Fugazi stuff. But he's got to have like some credits in there
I got a
for
stories
some
to tell.
for some of this.
Yeah.
But so you have this clothing brand.
Let's go, yeah.
How did you go from being chef to designer?
Exactly. It's such
Yeah.
a transition.
That's
Still
a
ambitious
transition.
and creative. From creative to creative, but still totally different avenues. So elaborate on the topic
Yeah.
a little
Yeah,
bit.
no, I've always loved clothing. I've always identified to clothing because it does set up. You know, you always talk about like you dress for the job that you want, right?
Right.
So for me, clothing has always been a statement, right? Anywhere I went, I wanted to look good because I can talk the talk to anybody, right? I
Yeah.
know how to talk. I can sell anything, but at the end of the day, I wanted to look the part.
Yeah.
So I was like, how can I start something small to one, enjoy myself,
Yeah.
right? That represents what I love, which is the outdoors, and two, give back to the community.
Right.
So when we started with Current Outdoor Clothing in 2021, the idea was to just start with some t-shirts, maybe a hat, and then hopefully build into some flannels, backpacks,
Right.
other things. But it became an easy avenue for us to just create merchandise to give out, right? Because like we're not making money, right? But that's only because all of the money that we get from the brand goes back to charity.
Right, and which is what I was going to say. One of the things that's so unique about your clothing brand is that you built it specifically to benefit charities. I know that you're a huge Charlotte FC fan.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I know that.
I'm sorry, guys.
Dude.
Yes, once upon a time I worked for the Red Bulls. You guys know. But,
New York to the fullest.
right, NYC, just saying. But in Harrison, New Jersey, which is Fugazi. But this whole brand here is more than you just making a logo and t-shirts and things. You've really found a way to work with other nonprofits, and I've been along the way for some of that journey. But tell us about what inspired you to specifically build a brand to benefit charities. What was it was there something youthful? What was the story about?
Yeah, it really started with the youth. So my kids, lucky for me, I'm blessed enough that my kids, we can afford to take them to summer camps.
Yeah.
Because we've done well off. But I saw the need that other kids had of camps. So I grew up, like I said, in Greenwood. We didn't have the means to go to camp, and we played outside till this lights came on. But nowadays, the environment that our kids grow up in is not safe anymore to be outdoors.
Right.
So having a safe space to go to, whether it's at night or summer camps, was crucial for a lot of families in York County. And I know End Spring does a really good job with that.
Right.
It's providing summer camps for kids. Again, a lot of us can't afford it, and other kids can't. So what we ended up doing is tying our charity to them so we can give back and be able to allow kids to go for camp for free.
Not a lot of people are bold enough to not just transition a whole other career, but do it for a purpose.
Yeah.
And it brings me to so many other things that you've done in your life between your artistry, your photography, your academia, and I've had the privilege to not just meet your mom, but spend a holiday with your mom and know your mom in an intimate way. How much of that?
What do you mean intimate way? What does that mean?
I'm just saying, it just stays here.
He's always crossing the bar, but we're gonna keep him in check, and we're gonna edit some stuff. So guys,
The
don't
boss
worry.
lady is back there somewhere.
exactly.
I'm
We're gonna
just saying,
edit.
we're good.
Daddy?
But that's not. Hey, listen, take this as a compliment,
I'm not stepdad material for sure. But how much of that plays into your mom and her story that you're doing so many things worldly, locally? Because I work with different groups. We have a great story, as a matter of fact. We're doing a convention with cruise planners. My office, the online itinerants, and they work with the deaf and hard of hearing community. And we planned a whole cruise, a pre-cruise convention, and then a convention for 2027 for over 200 participants, we're hoping.
Wow.
But right now we have what's called the reconnaissance mission, and it's just a conference. And they're going to go to Mexico. They're going to go to Cozumel and meet with a specific group that they're going to do charity work with. But your mom and your story, how does that tie into something similar? Because so many people are always looking for a way in to give back. And I know with Stephanie Kesson and the online itinerant, who we're doing this convention with, it really means near and dear to them. So how much of what you're doing is near and dear to you?
Well, the clothing line was just a means for us to make a profit to give back, right? But as far as how it resonates to my mom, and I guess my family, was my mom has always been the person that instilled a vision in me to give more of yourself than receive, right? Mm-hmm. I know that's hard in a world where we want to give and receive at the same time. Reciprocation should be taught more often.
Yep.
But often we tend to give more of ourselves than we actually receive. That's just the way it is, right? So for me, the vision from my mom's always been, do what you can to make people around you better, and no matter what, make sure someone else is happy before you are. And that was fun for me growing up. That was our motto. It didn't matter what I needed. It was how can I provide for somebody else?
Now, that's beautiful. It's I just want to. It's not. You don't want to receive. You want to give. Yeah. And after that, receive. But give. Yeah. Give. Be like you mentioned. He's a giver. Just to give. And after that, instant karma, you're gonna receive. And again, I love this. It's hip hop. Not for the profit, for the purpose.
Right.
Not for the profit, for the purpose. Yeah. This is I love it. This is.
But Dom, you operate in the same way too. I mean, you obviously, when you run your business, and by the way, Dom's selling our home, but I'm just saying, I just got to throw that out there.
Yep.
It's going to be sold soon, but if
Make sure
you
to
missed
stop
out,
by because time is ticking.
As we wrap up here, and I talk about how Dom is so talented, how can people reach your products or collaborate with you in terms of your hospitality company? And tell us really quickly about hospitality, and tell us really quickly about how they can reach you.
Yeah. Yep. So hospitality for me has been in my life. Since I was a kid, my parents owned restaurants growing up. I grew in the business. I managed restaurants from one unit to, at one point I had almost 12 restaurants at one point by myself, and then into ownership as of lately. Then I broke away from that, and now as a consultant, for me it's a passion to again, it's all about giving, right? So with my consulting business, it's not about making a profit or making ends meet. But that's going to happen, right? Like you said earlier. When I'm bringing someone into the table and I'm talking about their needs and their wants, it's all about how can I provide what you need first?
Exactly.
Right? They always ask, well, how much is this going to cost me? I'm like, don't worry about it.
Don't worry. First of all,
feed me, buy me a beer.
Exactly.
Right? Because you know what's going to happen the minute they start to see those ROIs happen. They'll think of me. They'll give me a referral.
Right.
They'll call me.
There
hey,
you go. Those referrals are key.
So it's more longevity more than what I see in front of me.
I love that.
Instant profit? No, it doesn't exist.
Absolutely.
Longevity,
so real quick,
karma.
How can they reach you?
You can call me. I mean, I'm accessible. 843-957-7108. You can text me.
There you go. The number is live now nationwide. You've heard it here first. But I want to wrap up by saying thank you, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you, man.
For being on the show and helping us out here, do another great show at Lake Wylie Brewing. But one of the things I want to tell people is if you're an entrepreneur and you're really invested in what you're doing, there are communities out there, and specifically the word community. My producer, which is behind the scenes right now, he runs a very amazing podcast called No Shortcuts with Midas and Fame. It airs at noon every Tuesday, specifically on YouTube, but you can find it wherever you stream your podcast.
Yep.
But I really want to encourage you guys to find a community of entrepreneurs that are like-minded, share ideas, don't be afraid to grow and become who you really were called to be. But Ernesto, thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Thanks, brother.
Dom.
Yeah, pleasure. And sort of drop this at the, why we connect so well, you know, that might be off the charts, but I just want to say why we connect so well. Ambitious mind, and we love to give, you know, and we never count the commission. No, we count the blessings.
That's
and
it.
I appreciate you guys as a friends, you know. We met, you know, in Fort Mill, Pints and Padres, big shout out, and I love it. Bless.
Dom, how can people reach you real quick as an entrepreneur and a real estate agent?
So first of all, number 347-447-4765. My email, dominic.levinsky@gmail.com. You can Google it, Hip Hop Realtor.
I love it.
From Facebook to the Instagram, all over the place, you know. From
And
New York to South.
He's got some
Fort Mill.
incredible Instagram pages, so you're going to want to follow those too.
Please do.
We're going to wrap up here, and we're going to join Jeff in just a moment. So thank you very much. We're going
Appreciate
to join
you.
Jeff right now. We're here with Jeff Coogler at Lake Wylie Brewing Company in Newport, South Carolina. You know, we're continuing this theme on the Travel People podcast of Flights on Flights, and we're so happy to be a guest here at this beautiful brewery. Out in the middle of nowhere, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah?
We're
What the hell was all that about?
well, everywhere else is coming this way, so we're
Yeah.
we're just right now a little bit out of the way, but eventually we're gonna be surrounded by
But
everything.
for now, but you know, this whole region is developing so quickly. All of a sudden, one day, that will be Central,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
Rock Hill or
Oh,
something
yeah.
like that. So
I love that.
Spot
I
on.
love that. So let's talk about these beers that we got in front of us before we jump into anything else. So I'm curious about the one that's called I Know a Guy.
I know a guy. We have a local farmer. He's about 4 miles up the road, and he comes and gets our spent grain. So after we get done brewing, he's on his way. You just give him a call, and he comes up, takes all the spent grain away. You know, 400 to 500 pounds of grain, and feeds it to the cows.
I
And
always wonder what the hell happens to that stuff.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys that he always knows a guy. If we need something else done,
I know the guy who's know the guy.
Yeah.
So if we need a body buried,
I
you
used to
know
be
a
the guy.
Yeah,
right?
so he knows the guy for everything. So he drinks Mick Ultra, and
Okay.
just so in honor of him,
Controversial.
So this is for Farmer Don.
Gotcha.
I went for a German Leichtbier, which I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but it's super crisp, 3.7% alcohol. So it's
Oh.
my answer to
Yep.
to a Mick Ultra.
Exactly.
Have you been out
something like
to Frankfurt or Germany or any of those parts?
That's next on the list. I haven't got there yet, but my wife and I, our plan is for Germany and doing a little driving tour around that area. But
Because I know a guy.
yeah, you do know a guy.
803-280-4727. I know a guy. But Dominic, you know, Poland, Germany, is this kind
I
of
was
down,
about to say, that's
right?
our neighbors. You know, our history is a little bit infamous,
Yeah.
but still, if you're talking about beers,
Yeah.
make sure we're gonna stop by in Germany and do the travel, like, you know, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Poland, Germany, and do the whole cycle, because you mentioned you love the Pilsner, and over there is a place to be. You know, so
I've
you have to
had
do
some
that.
Polish Pilsners. They're fantastic. So
There
yeah,
you go, love it.
So
Yeah.
how would you rate, like, and I know this is going to sound crazy because you're rating your own compared to everybody else, but I haven't had a lot of this anywhere else. A lot of folk kind of steer clear of this. But since you know a guy, obviously, you're doing this with all intentionality. So how would you rate this on a scale? Like if you had to give yourself on a scale.
I've only had a handful of this style. So when I brewed it, it was kind of scary because I didn't know what I was getting into. But so I had to do all my research, read a bunch on it, and then kind of put the recipe together. I've since had a few more, and I think I'm dead on.
Okay.
I'm very happy with it, and Farmer Don likes it, so that's all really what I was going for.
I agree. I like it too.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
as you can
Yeah.
see,
It's
I
light.
might-
It's light. It's not a light American lager because I don't use any rice or corn.
Okay.
It is all just malts and hops, and it comes out nice. It's a real pleasant, easy drinking beer.
Yeah, it
So
is. Summertime beer.
Yeah,
you know,
that's- yeah.
all day.
That's interesting because I was, I started drinking when I was 5 years old. I don't know about you, Don.
I was 4.5.
Right?
Little
You
bit
you get
younger.
the little half Budweiser cans and you
No,
drink
we're
it.
starting
you know.
from the foam, and after that, all of the sudden, and we already in it.
So we got Dam Release. Now, for those who are going to be watching, they don't know that here in your county we have a dam, and it's full of dam water. So
right?
the dam release, hopefully we don't release much of that dam
Yeah.
water.
Yeah.
But tell us about dam release.
So dam release, I was looking for an IPA that has a little bit more of a fruity punch to it. And this is one of the first beers I brewed with Lake Wylie Brewing Company.
The first one.
One of the first.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just wanted a nice fruity IPA. It just so happens that I was going kayaking and we were talking about dam releases, so we could go kayaking down the Catawba, and so the name kind of found itself.
You ever do the tubing? Dom?
No,
You
I
gotta
didn't.
do it,
No.
It's
I heard it, and someone told me like.
So you got to wear like the earplugs, because I
Uh-huh.
don't know if you want to get a damn bug in your ear.
I don't know, like
You'll
challenge
be all
accepted.
But it's so wild because we've done the tubing. One of the first things we did when we moved down here was buy tubes, get on the tube, do the whole dam ride, and you get out in Rock Hill, and you got to go get your car. Somebody's got to leave one car.
Yeah,
It's
that's
all
the hardest part,
logistics.
is just
It
moving around,
really is. It really is. But dam release, what flavor profile are we talking here? What are we looking at here?
So it's got a little bit of citrus, but there is notes of some good like kind of stone fruit to it.
Okay.
That's from the El Dorado hops. It kind of gives it a nice little tropical touch
can
there
tell.
at the end.
Yep.
I like
but
that.
yeah, it's citrus and a little tropical. Nice light malt bill to it, so it's not a heavy IPA. It's a lot of wheat. Actually, there's a lot of wheat in this beer, so it's nice and clean. It is.
Yep.
It's not West Coast. It's just kind of tropical IPA. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is it reminds me of Los Cabos. I don't know why, but I'm just getting like that Mexico Los Cabos feel. Maybe they bring all their beer from somewhere in Colorado.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But I'm just getting that. I love the hint of citrus in it. I don't know. I could jam to this all season long.
Yeah, that's actually one of our best-selling IPA. And next to the Sandbar Blonde, that's the second best selling beer we have.
Dom,
it-
have you
it's
been
on
to the
all time.
Caribbean? Have you been to Mexico?
No, I've been only in the Saint Martin.
Saint
Saint
Martin?
Martin,
Well, that,
Saint Bart's, and trip over there,
They're pretty cool. They're cool
No,
cats over
it
there.
is pretty cool. I travel around the world.
It's
I
like
used
Puerto
to,
Rico.
Listen, it was always on my list. I used to work for Emirates Airlines, so I traveled around the world. But me and my wife chose let's go to New Zealand, Australia, Japan, and we didn't discover, like some what's next to us, So
See, he
definitely-
wanted to elevate a little bit more. You know?
Gotcha.
I'm not going to just drink a beer in Puerto Rico. I'm going to go all the way out
Way
to
out to
Australia, right?
Yeah.
But the people, think about our trips. My wife is always trying the cuisine, and I was always trying the beers, and the spirits, like traveling around the world. So I'm going to the PR next year, definitely. But last question regarding this beer. So what's the percentage?
That one is a 6.7.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 6.7. Yeah.
So you want to be, conscious of what you're drinking on this one.
Yeah, they'll catch up with you.
Bring a designated driver.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, somebody who doesn't want to drink, somebody who's doing like a dry January. Those folks are okay. Those can be really good friends some time of the year.
No, dry January is I know the guy. That's the dry January.
I know a guy.
Yeah, I
We
know
know
a
a guy.
guy.
We know a guy
I
that'll
know the
get
guy
you
who
there.
did the dry January, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's so funny because I do know a guy, my son, who can drive us everywhere now. But I know a boss lady who'll be here shortly.
Yep.
But moving on, which I would hate to do. 15 fathoms. I mean, the
Okay.
name alone sounds scientific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we try to lake theme all the beers. So I've got a whole notebook, whole back page of it just full of names. Most of them are bad, but some of them are all right. And I was talking to Brittany, the bartender, and we were trying to figure it out. And I was like, fathoms is a word, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what it means nautically.
Right.
So either way, she was like, well, it's about, depth. And we found out that Lake Wylie's about 15 fathoms deep. So
There you go.
ipso facto, we've got 15 fathoms. Now, this is a cold IPA, so we use lager yeast in it.
Okay.
So it's super crisp and clean. And the hops we use actually were it's Galaxy hops out of Australia, and they're just
Galaxy, I
Yeah.
love it.
See? I knew there was a sci-fi effect. It's deep in the sea, right? What movies? The Abyss,
The Abyss. That's a good
right?
one.
The one with Jason Statham with the shark. That was just outrageous. That was so cool, but just outrageous. But 15 fathoms. I mean, you talk about lake going fishing. That's what you talk about is fathoms. How deep can you get your lure? How many fathoms can you get your lure down? So,
Exactly, but-
what are you going to fish? Loch Ness or
Like, whatever monsters they pull out of the lake over there.
I mean, is there a Loch Ness story in Poland?
Yeah, but you have to be like massively drunk, and after that everyone's singing and making the stories. But yes,
Wait,
we got
do
the
you have lakes in Poland?
No, beautiful lakes, Like I was born in the eastern part of Poland, and over there is covered by lakes. We have to stop by. You come to Poland, right?
We're going
You're
to Poland.
gonna
We're going to
visit-
shoot a show
You're
in
gonna
Poland,
visit
for
Poland,
sure.
yeah. We got a Baltic Sea, we got a mountains,
We got to
we
get
got lakes.
Travis a ticket too because all this equipment
No,
and
like,
everything.
listen,
I mean,
mandatory.
Poland, it's mandatory, but
Yeah.
15 Fathoms is.
Yeah, I love it. And full disclosure, one of my favorite hops is a Galaxy, Mosaic, and Simcoe. But Galaxy,
Yeah, and
Love
like it's nice and clean, easy drinking beer. It's one of the styles that has recently developed, that cold IPA, that lagered IPA that I'm kind of getting into.
Yep.
And I enjoy the heck out of that beer.
So it doesn't taste like a traditional IPA to me. It doesn't have that bite. So how do you get something to not have that bite? Like it doesn't have that bitter end to it.
So it's a matter of when you're putting the hops into the actually into the boil. When you're making beer, you got all your wort, which is the pre-beer,
Yeah.
and you're boiling away. In order to not have it so bitter, laying those hops out later in the boil. We usually boil for 60 to 75 minutes, and so this one has a whole lot later and not earlier, so it's not as bitter. Yeah.
That's amazing. For me, I just thought of everything just got cooked the same, made the same, but there's actually a science a science behind this one.
yeah.
listen,
Beyond.
that's the Alchemy 101. Like, that's why I love
Yeah.
the brewery,
Wait, I don't know that word.
There is a book, Paulo Coelho, Alchemist, and after that, I got one.
You
copy
get
for
me
you.
a word calendar,
Yeah.
I'd be straight because I need like one of those word a days,
Yeah.
and that should be part of the word a day.
Listen, we are planning to do the hip hop song. You have to work on your vocabulary, but we're gonna work together.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love it. Love it. So, Ebenezer Brown,
So I finished off with one of my favorites.
There you go.
Rock Hill, right?
Yeah.
Ebenezer.
Yeah, it's off Ebenezer Road and Ebenezer Park. I'm a big fan of English browns, and that's why this one is another one that was a staple early on. We just kind of went for a nice, clean brown beer, which is nice and malty. I love it. This one I actually used local malt. I used Riverbend malt up out of Asheville. I usually used English malts, but I figured I'd change it up a little bit because they have a really good product up there, and it shows. It pays off. It's a delicious, nice, rich, chocolatey.
So what's the
easy to
percentage?
drink
Like around 8.5?
No. This one's a 5.2. 5.2.
Okay, that's
Wow.
nice.
Yeah. So it's just nice, dark and roasty, and
Yeah.
This is like the first introduction to craft beer that I had was brown ales, and
Okay.
I love them.
So, would you recommend we mix this with our favorite Dot Bucks drink?
A Dot Bucks?
No, like I can't say the first word because then we have to.
Okay.
But Unkin, an Unkin. So I mean, this is great stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
a coffee in the morning with this
It would.
on the drive, right?
No
I'm
complaints.
just saying.
No
You could just cut out the
fighting,
coffee.
Everything's beautiful.
Or you could just cut the coffee, right?
Yeah.
But I definitely need coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
But this marries well.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Listen, couple beers in the morning, and everything is golden.
He knows how to live.
Well, people in
DNA.
Poland, actually, they wake up beer, they go to sleep beer, midday beer, they go have a break at work beer, right?
Yeah, mandatory. Yeah.
Right, mandatory.
Yeah, because you don't want to be stressed, aggressive, passive
It's
aggressive.
part of the Polish
After a few
Constitution.
beers, you're chilling. Yeah, we can manage after a few beers.
Your forefathers wrote the Constitution drinking beer.
Yeah, and our constitution, full disclosure, Polish constitution is the oldest constitution in Europe. So, why? Because we are chilling.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, the
Shoot,
oldest
we got a little
constitution.
bit of history lesson here.
Mic drop.
Oldest constitution in Europe, Poland. There you go.
The oldest
And,
one.
I'm just
You're
I'm just
welcome,
saying.
Europe.
Educational podcast.
An educational.
but-
We are all encompassing podcast. We will teach you more than just beer
No.
and flights on flights. But tell me a little bit about your story. Tell me about what started you as a brewer. What inspired you to get to this level?
So I was a teacher for 14 years.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I taught middle school language arts for 14 years, And we had the summers off, and me and another teacher friend of mine, we would, rather than just drinking beers, we would brew the beers. His wife bought him a little kit, and we started brewing, and I just caught the bug. I loved it. So I just had a whole library. My cousin brewed beers, and he had probably like 12 books, and he was like, go in my dad's basement and go pick them up, and I just consumed them all. And I really fell in love with the process. So we went from brewing 5 gallons at home to brewing 15 gallons at home, and we just all different styles and having a good time with it. And we did it for ourselves. We made a lot of good beers, made a lot of bad beers. We drank them all.
But yeah, exactly. Waste is a sin.
Yeah.
So I'm all about not wasting beer. So anybody who leaves beer here, we have a special tank that we're gonna dump you in. But
so that's how I started brewing, and then I got in touch with the owner here. I heard that he was looking for a brewer. So at that point I had 6 beers on tap at the house. So I brought him some of my beers and some samples, and he was blown away by them. And
there you go.
And then the rest is kind of history. Yeah.
So tell us about the owners. I know they're a little shy, but we want to give them a shout out and a special thank you for having us as your guests here, and beautiful establishment. Of course, I'm not there yet, guys. I'm slurring, but I'm not there yet. I promise you. But tell us about it.
So Scott, he's a restaurant guy. He was had restaurants since he was young. Like, got out of Navy and then went into pizzerias up in upstate New York, and
there you go.
And then he moved down here with intentions of opening a brewery, but being a restaurant guy, he ended up opening up a restaurant instead.
Okay.
Because that was of easy straight way from restaurant to restaurant.
It was easier for him to just go into the restaurant mode. Now he had all the equipment for the brewery, so he was just looking for somebody to kind of push it that direction.
To the right moment.
Nice.
And so meeting up with him helped out a lot. I was in a local homebrew club, and we had a meeting at their restaurant Pasquale's over in TKK, and kind of kicked off from there. And I was like, all right, well, you're looking for a brewer. I brew some beers, and we kind of hit it off. We work well together, so grew to this now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's fantastic. So you've been the head brewer here ever since then?
Yeah. So 2019, I've been brewing all the beers for Lake Wylie Brewing Company.
And you guys just, so it's been a couple of years since you transitioned here into Newport. You had originally established yourselves in a different part of South Carolina. But you've made such a great relationship with other breweries.
Yeah.
And I want to touch on that because a lot of folks don't understand how important the brewery industry is close connected, especially locally.
Oh, yeah.
So what are some of the things that you guys are doing right now locally, collaborating with others, that people should understand why they should really give you guys a shot?
As a whole, there's not a brewery in the area that doesn't support each other.
Exactly. That's the beauty.
We're not competing with each other. We're helping each other. All ships rise,
Yeah.
So we in York County alone, all the breweries we get together, we do collaboration brews at least 2 or 3 times a year. We have a huge event. It's a Yoko tag team where all the breweries team up.
Yeah.
And then we have a little taste test with where the public comes in and votes, and the winners get big old WWF belts.
I saw it.
Oh yeah.
Our buddies over at Untamed Waters Brewery.
Untamed Lore and Working Theory.
Working Theory. One of them. But they won the belt. They have the belt currently.
Yeah.
So
I got to get on it because I don't think I'd take it off. I just think I'd wear it around all day.
Same here. Morning shower, just the belt,
My mobility might hurt, but I would still wear it all the time.
It's all about sacrifices, but you're wearing the belt, golden belt. Yeah, I love it.
So we do that. We help each other out. If you need any kind of ingredient, if someone's short on something, it's a phone call away, and everybody's more than willing to help.
Okay.
It's a really cool atmosphere we got. We show up to each other's events, something big's going on, anniversaries, or even smaller events. We just show support, and we all make great beer, and we all enjoy drinking beer.
I
So
love that.
why not hang out, right?
I love it. I love it.
Beautiful.
It's one of the reasons I fell in love with the brewing process. It was just, that and getting drunk and sideways and somebody driving me home, right? But no, all truly just getting to know the process, getting to know the people behind the brand, and really appreciating and and just giving them their accolades and affirmations that they deserve. But I really want to touch on one last thing. One last thing that it's just I can't shake. And this place being Lake Wylie, but we're not in Lake Wylie. How did the name come about?
Being in TK, we were very close to Lake Wylie.
Yes, you were.
And then over here, we're close to Lake Wylie, but we're adjacent. If there was any property in Lake Wylie that was cheaper, we'd be there.
Okay. All right. So now you know it.
Yeah.
For those real estate gurus, which we have one right here.
Yeah.
The hip hop realtor.
Let's go.
But for those of you who are looking to get some of that real estate dump, we can get a second location. We can write check today. But
we got as close as we could.
Yep.
But yeah, once again, I'm on the river all the time. I love having that river access. His house is on the lake. They go out on the lake. They got boats. We enjoy the lake. We enjoy that atmosphere. So
That's awesome.
We definitely it's more than the name. It's not just the location. It is what what we're about, and being out here and being outside. So
tell us what happens behind the house real quick, so that some of us understand. What really happens. What does your day look like? You come in, have your unkin or your bucks, right?
Yeah.
And then you start your day. You throw some. I don't know. I'm talking out of my rear here. I don't know what I'm talking about. But you throw some hops in. You do whatever you know.
So a brew day for me, we're not an automated system. I am the work. I do it all. We don't have anything automated back there. Everything's stirred by me. Everything's turned by me. I got hoses. I'm moving things all day. So on a normal brew day, I'm here before 6 o'clock, and I'm dumping 400 pounds of grain by hand and mixing it myself into the mash tun.
Wow.
Okay.
So by 7:30, when I'm done sweating and breathing heavy, then I get to drink my coffee and enjoy
And brew.
Yeah, and then watch the rest of the process go. That my brew day process is everywhere about 6 hours from that moment on. But yeah, it's a chore. It's a lot of work. Not being automated, and we got a system that works for me, and it makes sense coming from a home brewer.
Right.
I've seen a lot of nice and fancy stuff at a lot of other places, but it's what we got.
I think you guys do a great job.
And I definitely I've learned the system. I don't think I could do it any other way. But it is a long process for me. But it
so
works.
to be a brewer, it's like a baker. You have to wake up early morning and start the whole processing at 6. It's not like you after you're waking up at 10.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go to work.
Which is why I don't bake bread.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we do not brew the beers, because we're lazy.
All my
I like
friends
to
thought
drink
I was
it.
just drinking. That's what they were like. Oh, you left teaching to be a brewer. You're just drinking. I was like, no, not quite. I'm humping it all day long. Moving a lot of weight, pushing a lot of weight between kegging and the grains that I deal with. There's a lot. It's a lot of work.
So tell me you taught science.
No, I did not. I wish I taught science. I just wasn't strong enough in math to teach science, so I taught language arts. I'm big into literature and reading and writing. So yeah.
So there you have it. Language arts leads to brewing beer.
Everybody read more and you'll brew beer.
So if you read and you articulate and you comprehend, this is what occurs. You learn stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Constant developing.
Go ahead, Dom. I'm
No,
sorry.
I'm just saying, constant developing, learning, and reading, practicing, reading, practicing.
I joke, but that's what got me into it. The ability to, because I had no formal training. It was just a matter of what's out there. There's tons of information. I'm just going to kind of consume it all.
Yeah.
And
after this,
I enjoyed it, and I became a pretty diligent reader of just brewing science. And it's fun and it's exciting. Some of it gets a little dull. I mean, water chemistry isn't fun to read about, but it's part of it, and it still made it a little bit exciting. The fact that it was like, well, that goes into this, and I love this, so it all just kind of adds up.
So I have one technical question. So I know my wife will give me a kudos for this. So for example, coffee and beers, one of the main ingredients is the water.
Yeah.
So how to make water or water to be the best,
We've
cherry
got,
on top of this everything, because you can have the best grains, simple guys.
Oh, yeah.
But if the water sucks, everything sucks.
Exactly, and our water here is actually pretty good for in terms of water profile. It's pretty good for any kind of pilsnery kind of quality. So I use a couple different minerals to just kind of spice up our water and build. So depending on the style of beer, I'll add different amounts of calcium chloride or gypsum into the actual mash, just to kind of accentuate hops or accentuate malts. But yeah, water's a big part of it, for sure.
I absolutely love everything you said, but I understand zero. So I love it, but we're going to have an opportunity, from what I understand. A little birdie told me that Dom and you are, going to do some inventory, or maybe let us know what we have in the back of the house in terms of what you do and how you do it, and talk about some of the equipment back there. I'm looking forward to sharing that with all of our viewers. But before we let you go, I really want to thank you. I want to thank the brewery. I want to thank Scott for having us on. This is a true honor. We're continuing our Flights on Flights. It really it is part of our story as a travel agency. You would say, what the hell does a travel agency and brewing have to do? There's a lot. Everywhere you go, you drink, right? And you want to have fun. You want to drink something that's tasty. And there's no different whether you travel to Mexico or you're traveling into the Piedmont region or somewhere here in the Carolinas, right? You want to find people that you can relate to, beverages that you're going to enjoy, people that you're going to, have a good time with. I don't want to sound all Cheers-ish, right? Sometimes you want to go. No, I'm not going to sing it. But then I have to pay them.
Yeah, you can't take. You only go so far.
Right, I can go but like 3 lines, but
moving is traveling, and you are the right person to host this podcast, and showcase such a beautiful breweries and communities.
This is a great location, location, great brewery. I understand great food trucks that come here all the time. So we have some great entertainment tonight. If you haven't been to Lake Wylie Brewing in Newport, South Carolina, you really need to check them out.
Yeah.
This is really one of those unsung gems, one of those places that you're going to find and you're like, oh, I'm hooked. You might want to buy a house nearby. And we got a guy right here who...
gonna help you, momentarily. Just, hit my number, 347-447-4765, and we're going to purchase property right next to Lake Wylie Brewing. That was a good spot, right?
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you so much, guys.
Cheers. Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah. All right, party people. So here is the Alchemy 101, and this is our alchemist. So tell me, what's going on here? I'm curious. I just want to listen to you.
All right. So this is my. I got a 7-barrel brew house here. I've got 7 barrel fermenters. So they, a barrel's 32 gallons of beer. So you could all do the math, 210-ish gallons of beer at a time. Got my boil kettle. I'll just bring you over here to let you know where it all happens.
Guys.
Yeah. So starting off, I got my mash tun here. So when I talked about brewing beer, I come up here every morning, and this is where I'm at. I've got my custom-made Rocky paddle here. My buddy Rocky's made me a nice big paddle.
Wow, this is, I guess, the biggest I ever saw. Wow.
Yeah. So in here, I've put in anywhere, depending on the beer, from 400 to I've done up to like 500 pounds of grain.
Gotcha.
And I infuse it with hot water to bring my mash and extract sugars from the beer. So this is where all the magic happens.
Here.
Yeah. This is where I make wort, which is future beer. Yeah. Behind you, that's where I boil it all. So over here, I push all the hot liquid. Over here, I start the boil, and this is where I'm going to introduce any kind of hops or any kind of special ingredients like cinnamon or any kind of fun.
So you add hops to this one, right?
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so this is all just the grain. Over here is all hops and any other kind of fun adjunct I'm throwing into the beer. Wow. So once again, I'm brewing usually about 210 gallons that I have going on here. It gets a little steamy back here, a little hot, but it's part of the job.
It's part of the job. So, for example, if we will be able to brew one style right now, like your favorite, which style we're gonna brew right now? Like if that would be like, okay, let's cook.
If I was going to pick any style, so I would start with my Pilsner. So
There you go.
I'm going to start mashing it under here, nice and low temperature. So the water's coming in probably about 170. But when I mix the grains in, it'll probably like 147, 149.
Gotcha.
Nice mash temperature over here, but everything's going to be kind of hot. And then I bring it over here and bring it up to 212 degrees and start putting in some hops. So that's.
So right now, because I learned it like a few years ago, do you agree like the Pilsner is the hardest style to brew? Because everyone think, oh, Pilsner, everyone drinking Pilsner, but I know it's the truth. It's a little bit different.
It's a nuanced style. It's a nuanced style. So you gotta be careful, and you gotta know everything's with intention. A lot of beers you can make up for it along the way, but Pilsner from start to finish, you just got to be ready for it, and you just got to know what you're doing and really pay attention to how much hops you're
every step on the road you have
from
to pay
mash temp to fermentation temp, and we'll look at some fermenters here in a second. That means a lot when it comes to Pilsner.
Gotcha.
Yep.
You see, guys, another myth disappeared. Pilsner is one of the hardest styles to brew.
Yeah,
so
one of the most mass-produced, but definitely the hardest. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right, perfect.
And if you walk down here, Dom, I'll show you some more.
Come down.
So I just brewed a beer yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Very good.
So
Coincidence? I don't think so.
I brewed a Hefeweizen over here.
Hefeweizen, Germany to the fullest.
Yeah. So I got a Hefeweizen going on. As you can see, it's already started pushing out. So as the yeast starts eating up the sugars, it starts producing CO2. So that's the two. So yeast eats sugars and poops out CO2. Alcohol and CO2. So it's creating alcohol and CO2. So that's what you see bubbling here is actually the yeast coming through and pushing out CO2. This one was just brewed yesterday and it's kicking already. I'm looking forward to that one. Keeping the fermentation temperature nice and low.
Good Hefeweizen is, and I heard is one of the healthiest styles. Because whatever you use to make the Hefeweizen actually is good for your gut health and stuff like that.
I'll take your word for it, but that's
like for example, if you're suffering a little bit sick, the Hefeweizen is a beer to go. If you want to still enjoy. So full disclosure, and you're welcome.
It's a fun beer style. That's another one that's you got to have a specific yeast and everything that goes into it. I'm excited about that one. One back here that's just finishing fermenting is we got a double IPA coming on. And
double IPA.
Yeah.
Now we're speaking my language. Okay,
yeah.
elaborate.
So that one will be a nice, it'll probably come out like right about 8%. It's called Oh Buoy. I haven't brewed it in years, so I'm kind of excited to go back to an old recipe and kind of bring it forward. Yeah. But you can see it's kicking too.
It's kicking. This is the Alchemy 101.
Yeah.
But tell me, that would be double IPA, but that wouldn't be like hazy IPA or?
No, this one will be. If it's not crystal clear, I won't be happy.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
gotcha.
That'll be nice and clean for me.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
All right, love it.
So that's our brew house. Yeah, but we got 7 barrel fermenters. So I'm pushing beers and filling them all the time. Yeah, keep them busy.
And I just spoke. He's doing everything by himself. From the brewing to cleaning. So. Big shout out to you. You're a self-made man.
Tom.
You're the cook, the chef, the master brewer. And thank you so much. That was a pleasure. See you next time.
See you later. Thank you.